Customer Officer from SailPoint.
Hello. I know, you're probably surprised to see me here. I gotta be honest, I am equally shocked that I'm here today. It was a little bit of a blow that Flo Rida did not invite me to join him on tour as one of his backup dancers, but he did not, so alas, here I am talking about one of my other passions, which is identity, and doing it with some of my favorite people, which is our customers. As security leaders, you're constantly balancing today's realities with tomorrow's unknowns, and there are a lot of unknowns, we know that. The pace of change in our industry is absolutely relentless. We have new technologies, new attack surfaces, new opportunities and threats that emerge daily. So this panel is all about how leaders like you are thinking about the future, thinking about these unknowns. We're going to cover some of the hot topics we've been talking about that are shaping our field right now: agentic AI, distributed autonomous systems, just-in-time access, the convergence of identity and data, and this hot topic about how identity weaves through every layer of the SOC. Now, we've been talking about these topics for a while throughout this conference, but this conversation is not going to be about the product and the features, it's going to be about mindset. Now, I always say that one of my favorite things about Navigate is the peer-to-peer conversations and learning from our customers, and that's what we're going to do here today. So let's go ahead and dive in. So please help me welcome to the stage Chip Wentz, the CISO of Keurig Dr. Pepper and our 2025 Identity Security Award winner, and Shay Karhoff, Director of Identity and Access Management from Mercy Health and our 2025 Admiral of the Year. Please join me. Have a seat. And I have to tell you, Shay, I love that you matched our SailPoint colors. That's why you're the Admiral of the Year.
I asked them if they could put the logo on my back before we came out, but there was no time. So.
I love it. Well, thank you both for joining us here today, and congratulations again on your very well-deserved awards. So we're gonna dive right in with the hot topic, and that is Gen AI. So. This has really taken off, as you know, in the past year, and it's just changing the way we all operate. So Chip, I'm going to start with you. So talk to me about how your organization is using agentic AI, and this is a multi-part question, or if you're not using it. And what's the primary feeling? Is it caution? Is it optimism? Is it excitement? And then from a day-to-day standpoint, when you talk to your teams, how are you having them think about or even use AI in their day-to-day?
Yeah. So I'll change your words a little bit and say we're taking a cautious acceleration approach to agentic AI. So we're moving fast where value is clear, but we're keeping the governance there. So we really encourage curiosity from our employees, but we have to have guardrails. They are non-negotiable. And so we really try to focus on what business impact is it with the guardrails that are there. At KDP, we really established two different tracks that we have. And so one is employee-led citizen development, where we have trained and empowered teams to automate and encourage them to automate repetitive, low-risk tasks using approved tools that we've provided them and provided training on. And this really drives some grassroots efficiencies while keeping our data exposure controlled. And then we also have a center-led AI initiative where we really target full business processes where we can enable agents so that we can really deliver some measurable gains in speed. The key to all of this is we really need to vet the ROI and the risk before we scale it out organization-wide. Across both of these tracks, the key thing that we've heard a lot at this conference is data. We've got to make sure the agent can't access data that the human can't, and also that the data that's being used is the source of truth. So that's how we're encouraging it.
Yeah, the intersection of data and identity is obviously something we've been talking about quite a bit here. So that's very interesting. Shay, thoughts?
So we haven't yet deployed an agentic AI solution at Mercy. We have some in the pipeline. I would say the overall feeling, I would say from the security teams, is always a little different than everybody else, right? So security is very cautiously optimistic about the possibilities, but I think healthcare in general, it's a lot of excitement, right? We have deployed some tools like an AI transcription tool to take all of that time that it takes for providers to note their notes in the chart. So, we're dealing with a workforce in healthcare that is overextended, there's staffing issues. So we're really looking at the lower risk use cases. So for example, my team has even built an interactive bot that is backed by our own data for our internal processes to kind of get that first controlled experience with it. And that has already, because we affectionately call it the other IAM security engineer on the team. So we use that and ask it questions. Hey, what am I supposed to do here? And it's backed by SailPoint data, it's backed by ServiceNow data, and it's backed by our own internal documentation.
Okay, that's fascinating. I love to hear these use cases. So we're going to zoom out. Let's take a look at how your personal decision-making lens, how you're processing this shift. So for the other leaders or aspiring leaders in the audience thinking about these same challenges, what is one principle or lens you use to evaluate new tools or new trends like AI, data access security, and just this constantly evolving set of requirements that we have with identity? So Shay, I'll start with you.
I think fundamentally, I try to remember the principle that ultimately IAM's mission is not changed. Like, our objectives are always kind of the same. And in the AI age, attackers exploit human weaknesses faster than we're able to keep up with them. So that's why we have to return to the core mission and focus on enforcing least privilege, move to time-bound access, identity-linked accountability. And the most important part is that means that identity security needs to be involved during design and not by exception. So no more of, look at this great thing that I built and what it's delivering. Now can you secure it? So, yeah.
Very interesting. Chip?
Yeah, so like I said on the first answer, we really apply a value and risk lens to everything that comes out. And the first key is if it can deliver measurable business value and we can manage the risk, then we lean in. We really look at two things. One is data. And so with any new technology that comes in, the first question we ask is, does it access any sensitive data? And if it does, and we can enforce classification and apply policy at the time that we use that data, then we use it. If not, then the answer is no. The other thing is identity. Can we enforce least privilege? We don't want to give access to the full platform. We've been talking a lot about this. So if the control model is weak or just static access, then to me the risk doesn't outweigh the benefit. And this really keeps us from chasing the hype that's out there with technology as it comes, while we really encourage our folks to innovate at the speed of the business. Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, I think these guiding principles are very, very powerful, especially when we think about how identity-specific shifts that are really becoming non-negotiable. It is absolutely clear, and hopefully you've heard at this conference, that just-in-time access is a necessity for enterprise security. It's non-negotiable. So, Chip, I'll go back to you. How are you thinking about making this shift in your organization, and what's the biggest mindset or operational change, or I'll say challenge, that it will take you to get there?
I think the technology change is huge, but I also think the biggest change is the organizational change management that comes along with this. And it's really a shift from, and again, we've heard it here, access by default versus access by purpose and duration. And so to get every end user to be able to understand that access is earned and time-bound is a big organizational change push. We all have rolled out privileged access management, and we know the impact and the pushback we got from doing that, having admins check in and check out their access. I see that like that. I do think it's the right direction because it really does reduce standing access and reduces lateral movement risk that's out there. The other thing that I think is really key with just-in-time access is you've got to know your data. And so it means classifying your data, labeling your data, tagging your data so that you can then say, who needs this data, why do they need it, and how are they using it, and be able to enforce policies dynamically, to me is the key. We also heard yesterday, I think the other convergence that has to come with just-in-time access is a standards-based approach so the tools can talk to each other so that it can really be applied. So.
Yeah, I agree. You know, we talk a lot about technology, but change management is so very important. We know if we don't have the buy-in from the organization, the technology is useless. So I appreciate the perspective. Shay, what are your thoughts?
So I think we all in this room know that identity isn't just a directory entry. It's the control point for data, for access, for trust. And we need to make sure that the trust that we're giving is earned continuously, not just one time. Just-in-time makes identity the gatekeeper. So even if you're in the directory, you only get access for a defined time or purpose. I think the biggest challenges will definitely be with the complex workflows and adoption for the IT teams when rolling this out. I think on top of that, for healthcare specifically, security must match the clinical pace. We cannot delay patient care, so that is a major consideration during design.
Yeah, you're right. Just in time is a really good example of how identity is evolving from simply granting access to becoming a dynamic control point, one that it not only limits exposure, but also protects the data itself, which brings us to the broader conversation about this intersection of identity and data. You know, the convergence of these things is really becoming a critical control point. So Shay, I'm gonna ask you, how are you thinking about leveraging identity to safeguard not just systems, but the data itself? And then how will that change, or does it change your approach to risk?
I think first, it's adopting the mindset that all standing privilege is now technical debt. And once you kind of adhere to that or you kind of get yourself in that space, then it's understanding that all access, no matter how inconsequential you think it all has a blast radius. So restricting that data by purpose rather than by platform, you know, some things should be easy to get to on purpose and some things should not. So.
Great. Chip, your perspective?
I really like your technical debt. Standing access is technical debt. That's good. As we look at it, really, identity from a control perspective really moves from standing access, like Shay said, over to data risk. And so the context of the identity really should drive the access decisions and the permissions that are given. And in today's world, we ask who needs access to this system. And tomorrow, we need to be saying what data they need, when do they need it, and why do they need it, so that we can build parameters around that. And really that is dynamic policies that then need to combine those identity attributes, who it is, where they are, with other attributes, like we heard yesterday, with data sensitivity things, with geolocation, with device posture, things like that, so that you can make those real-time decisions. And real-time enforcement at the point when data is being accessed, so that you can then tokenize data so that you don't provide data, you can encrypt it, you can remove it, whatever it may be. To me, that's really the key. The other thing I think we really need to do and focus on is continuous monitoring so that we can detect those anomalies, because privilege creep or data exfiltration attempts that are there go unmasked, and so you got to provide that continuous monitoring.
Okay, that's great, thank you. So that brings us to a very hot topic, which is the SOC itself, because we know identity is not just a control conversation anymore, it's really a security operational one. And as you've heard Chandra talk about, we've said it throughout this conference, you know, full stop, identity should be a part of the SOC. So Chip, I'll go to you since you were speaking. Does this align with what you're thinking? And you know, does it impact how you implement identity security? And what would this, or what does this look like at your organization?
To me, identity must be a signal in the SOC. And as we've heard, again, most breaches, I think they said, CrowdStrike said 78% start with an identity, right? So most breaches today exploit some type of valid credentials that are out there. So the detections and the response and the triggers within the SOC really need to be identity-centric and not just network or endpoint focused, like a lot of the tools that we have today. So identity telemetry in our SIM is key and critical. We have to be able to ingest things from our IGA tools, our PAM tools, our MFA tools, so that we can really see what's going on, and then correlate those events with things like device posture, location, things like that, so that we can really figure out what the anomalies are. And then I think then use automated playbooks using agentic AI to then answer that. I don't think it replaces the analyst, but it helps speed up the detection rate.
Great. Shay? We need to stay in touch for that, Chip, as you move down that road. You know, real-time alerts, we have those in place, suspected malicious activity, those kind of alerts. But we also use our SOC for policy violation, because we try to look at proactive versus reactive. So sure, you're going to get an incident and it's going to tell you something bad is happening, or we suspect something bad is happening. But we're looking more for how can we catch things that could lead to something bad happening, where you have the opportunity to educate the user. So we also use those alerts for that purpose as well. We don't want to wait for a breach to know someone had access. We would like to know that up front and be managing it. So continuous evaluation of alerting with technology changes. You know, for example, AI presented new threat vectors, such as Ghostline, you know, and in a world where healthcare is being riddled with social engineering attacks, that's very important. The same technology that's going to move us forward faster, well, the bad actors are going to use it too. So.
That's very true. I love these panels. I always learn so much from them. And this conversation in particular is just fascinating, because it's not just about the here and now, the problems that we're facing today. It's about, you know, what's around the corner. How are we preparing for the problems that we can't yet see? I think a big takeaway for me, though, from this panel is that, you know, identity and the data that it protects really is that connective tissue of modern security. You know, as we're hearing from you, you're not just reacting to change, you're actually thinking deeply about how do we shape it and how do we control our destiny, if you will. So I want to thank you very much for joining us, and congratulations again on your award, but thank you for sharing your perspectives, and thank you to all of you for leaning into this conversation. You know, it takes a community, it takes a village, so let's keep the conversation going throughout the rest of the conference. Thank you.
Thank you.